Apollo, I can't believe it. It really happened during the second act? And right in the middle of Lamoureux's performance? The reason why she was in the air vent. And that switch and the flaming guitar. When you link it all together, that's what you end up with. I knew you had what it took. Ah, Daddy. Mr. Wright, you believed in me? Not really. Huh? I just thought that'd make a cooler entrance than say, hiya. Why do I even bother hoping? Where have you been lately, Daddy? You haven't been coming to the office at all. Ah, sorry about that, Druzy. I'm on a secret mission. Secret? You mean like you're undercover? Like Mr. Latouche, only shorter and not as well dressed. Oh no, what if you're shot too, Daddy? Would I do a thing like that to you? Anyway, I'm off for a while again. Huh? You're leaving? Oh, one thing before I go. What? Good luck. Right. Is that all you came to say? I think you have things pretty much under control. You'll get Makito off the hook, no doubt. Yeah, but you're after that detective, aren't you? Darien Crescend. It won't be easy proving he did it. Especially not under the current court system. The current court system? What did Prosecutor Gavin say during the trial? Your case is based on one fragile assumption. Namely that our Diva Divine is telling the truth. But what about all the proof? The brooch and the switch? A piece of jewelry and a typical blunder. There are plenty of other ways to explain these things. The flame guitar, too. All because you lack definitive proof of their connection to the case. But if the sultry songstress is lying, your case melts like butter in a frying pan, leaving behind the faintly singed scent of failure. So what do I do? Like I said, good luck. And be aware that it will be impossible to prove his guilt by conventional methods. Ugh. Oh, that reminds me. I have something to give you from our detective friend. Detective Sky. Emma? Let's see. This bag of snacks here is meant for me. Ah, here it is. What are those, Daddy? They don't look like very good snacking material. They were found at the scene. Analysis of the fragments revealed traces of gunpowder. Gunpowder? Probably a firecracker or something similar, like the ones kids are into these days. These fragments were found under the sofa at the scene of the crime, actually. Under the sofa? Hey, Apollo! That's where we found that little device thingy! Right, this. Well, finally, some evidence that makes sense. That's all for me, I suppose. See you after the verdict. Maybe. Right! Every man has an igniter inside him. Excuse me? Find Darien Crescent's igniter. Set it off. And he walked out the door, just like a magician. Normally. What does he want us to do? No conventional methods? What does that mean? I guess you just have to take his advice and hope it makes sense when the time comes. I guess. We're almost at the finish line. Hang in there, Trucy. Court is now back in session. Prosecutor Gavin, where is Detective Crescend? In the witness lounge, ready to be called at any time. Very well. Might I add, I don't believe any of this. Darien was the first detective I ever worked with. We stopped working together when he moved to Criminal Affairs, Division 3. But his guitar playing, it fires my imagination. That's nice, but it has nothing to do with the matter at hand. Correct? Oh, I know. Air forehead. Very well. Call the final witness to the stand. Detective Darien Crescend. Name and occupation, please. Darien Crescend, Detective Criminal Affairs, Division 3. That's the International Affairs Division, for those of you who didn't know. And I'm a guitarist for the Gaviners. Maybe you've heard of us? Do you fully understand the circumstances under which you stand before us today? Yeah, I understand, Your Honor. What I don't understand is how you let this happen, partner. You gave me your word I wouldn't be standing here. The situation's changed, Darian. And don't call me partner. So much for old friends. I see what you're doing, Darian. You're pressing the prosecution. Your Honor, if we could begin the trial. Yes, it's high time we did. Let's hear your testimony. You may begin with your response to Lammy Roar's testimony. If, in fact, you have anything to say about it. Oh, I got plenty to say. Lying must be a national pastime in Virginia. And wherever you're from, Mr. Justice. Huh. Conventional methods are out the window, huh? Here goes nothing. The diva's lying, plain and simple. She's got nothing to back up her story. In the first place, she never heard my voice. She forgot the words because she heard gunshots, as if. Didn't Detective Emma Skye hear those gunshots during the third set anyway? The shooting took place when I was on stage, man. So you claim Lammy Roar's testimony was a lie. Hey, don't get me wrong, I dig what she's doing, trying to protect that kid. And she's got the court eating vague statements out of her head just because he's blind. You go too far, Darian. Look, all I'm saying is, you've got a reliable witness. Why not listen to the detective? Detective Skye? I see. Mr. Justice, you may begin the cross-examination. He didn't waste any time finding our weak spot. I can't do this with Lammy Roar's testimony alone. I'll have to find some other way to prove when the shooting took place. The diva's lying, plain and simple. She's got nothing to back up her story. In the first place, she never heard my voice. She forgot the words because she heard gunshots, as if. Didn't Detective Emma Skye hear those gunshots during the third set anyway? Objection! Some things were found at the crime scene after yesterday's trial. What things? The first was this small device. That's the remote-triggered igniter. Correct. And one more thing. What are those? The remains of something burnt? Not another guitar, I hope. Traces of gunpowder were found on these fragments. We have a report that it was something like a firecracker. How did Gavin know about this? What? You think Detective Skye works for you? I received the report this morning, before coming here. That's when I made my decision, actually. What decision is this, Prosecutor Gavin? I registered Darian as a witness in today's trial. Just in case. This raises another possibility. Those gunshot-like sounds during the third set could have been two firecrackers rigged to go off by remote control. You got an active imagination, don't you? But you shouldn't say every little thing you think. Your explanation there seems a bit too convenient to me. How so? So you're saying these firecrackers just happened to go off? Right when two witnesses came walking by? That's right. Darian was out on stage when it happened, Apollo. How would he know someone was backstage right then? If a firecracker goes off in the forest and there's no one to hear. You get my drift? Why go through the trouble, man? Ugh. How do I explain this? He may not look it, but Darian is a gifted detective. Show any weakness and he's sure to find it. He may not look it, partner. Gee, thanks, man. That reminds me. I happened to pass through that very hallway several times that day myself, and I saw something odd there just before the third set. Something odd? A headset, the kind all of the band and staff members were wearing. That's right! We picked this up in front of the door to that dressing room. What if that headset wasn't dropped but placed, and what if it was turned on? You could hear what was going on in that hallway, even if you were out on stage! Whose side are you on, Gavin? Listen to me, Darian. There are no sides in the court of law. Which is why I now turn to you, Air Forehead. I have a question for you. Huh? For me? The igniter and the burnt fragments that were found at the scene of the crime. It's certainly a possibility that they were part of a ruse to fake the sound of gunshots. Throw the headset from the hallway into the mix and you could fabricate an alibi. But we're still no closer to proving anything. Those gunshots might have been real or fake, we can't say. You've raised the possibility that the shots heard during the third set were faked. Now you need to prove the other half of the case. The other half? Look, I'll just tell him. He wants you to prove the thing went down in the second act, while our little piano player was on stage. That right, Gavin? Indeed. If you can't prove that, then no continuing this cross-examination would matter. Well, Mr. Justice, can you prove the crime took place during the second set? Yeah, I think. You'd better know, Apollo, otherwise we're through. It can be proven! You make it sound like someone else is going to come along and do it for you. Let's continue with the cross-examination then, shall we? Witness, your testimony, if you would. This isn't going to be easy. I need some decisive proof, and fast. You ready, kid? Because I am. The shooting took place during the second set. If you're so sure, let's see your proof. She forgot the words because she heard gunshots, as if. In the first place, she never heard my voice. The diva's lying, plain and simple. She's got nothing to back up her story. Objection! It seems there was clear proof left behind. Right here in Lammeror's song. Her song? What exactly is this, device thingy? A new variety of gramophone, perhaps? Come on, we just use this. And don't get me started on gramophone. This device was used to record the performance, part by part. Part? You move the sliders to adjust the volume. Each instrument is adjustable separately, Lammeror's voice included. Oh, but what does this prove? According to Lammeror's testimony, at the moment of the shooting, she forgot the words to the song. Ah, you intend to examine the recording at that moment, yeah? We might even hear those gunshots. Exactly. Ridiculous. How are you supposed to hear gunshots back in the dressing room and on stage? Have you forgotten, Darian? We were all wearing these headsets. Oh. We were all deeply involved in our performance. But Lammeror's headset would have picked up what she heard all the same. Then let's get to analyzing that recording. Right now. Lammeror stopped singing when she heard the shots fired. Find that spot and I'll find the gunshots. Sugar, oh, that night in your embrace, when you stole away the keys my heart held on to so tight. Pleasure, but a fleeting melody. It wraps itself around me, and now through the air I fly. Whoa, whoa, like a... Your Honor, listen closely to this part. This is the track with Lammeror's vocals. Away the keys my heart held on to so tight. Pleasure. I did hear something faintly there, yes. Why, it sounded like a gunshot. What? This has to be some kind of mistake. I believe the case has been made. Gunshots were heard during the second set, which means Lammeror's testimony was true. Gah! Order. So, she was telling the truth about what she heard? It was the other man speaking, not Mr. Lettuce. Well, what did he say? It's over. Press the switch. Now. Just after that, there was a gunshot, and then the guitar caught on fire. Detective Crescend, you weren't on stage during the second set. You could have done it. But why did we only hear one gunshot on the recording? Weren't 2 bullets fired from this weapon? Lammermoor was moving through the air vent, Your Honor. She must not have been close enough for her mic to catch the first shot. But then, as she passed over the dressing room, the gun fired again, and Mr. Latusse's life was taken. Well, Detective Crescend? Once again, I am reminded of something. Our performance that day. Your performance? Seeing the mixing board jogs my memory. You were there too, Airforehead. What is it with today? Problem after problem, a tongue! My hog won't start, my guitar case is busted. My guitar's been burnt to a crisp, and to top it all off, someone's dead! And then there was that performance just now. What was that all about? This part is off. Which is that? Second guitar. It was you, Darian! I thought it strange at the time. How could you miss such a simple cue? I know you. I know how you play. You're better than that. Yeah, well, You what? And Prosecutor Gavin, what are you getting at? I'm talking about the murder weapon. Mr. Latusse's 45 caliber hand cannon. As we have learned, even the shooter doesn't go unscarred with a revolver that size. The kickback is enough to dislocate your shoulder, if you're an amateur. Wait! You mean his playing was affected because he hurt himself shooting that revolver? Heh, you're forgetting something. Yes, Detective Crescend? I am a trained police officer, you know. I've had firearms training. Plenty of it. I'm no amateur. The standard sidearm issued to police officers is a 38 caliber weapon. A much tamer beast. Also, the murder weapon belonged to the victim, Mr. Latouche, which suggests there was a struggle between killer and victim. So, the killer might not have been holding the revolver correctly when he fired. Is that what you mean? The thought had occurred to me, yes. Well, does the witness have anything to say to this? Detective Crescend! What I want to ask is what Mr. Sleeves Rolled Up Ready for Action has to say. Hey you, attorney. Me? Exactly which piece of your evidence is decisive again? You got a little noise on its ape that could be anything. And you have an alleged guitar cue miss due to a 45 caliber kickback. I weep for this case, Gavin, I really do. You can line up your little weak pieces of evidence all you want. I didn't shoot that manager. And that's the obvious truth. The witness has a point. The defense's arguments, while persuasive, are not decisive. I believe we should hear what the witness has to say in response to the case so far. Your testimony, please, Detective Crescend. Tell us your reasons why you couldn't have done it. Come on! Why would I even want to kill that manager? You want a reason? Easy. I got no motive, man! This was that diva's first trip to this country, right? How could I possibly know her manager? If I didn't know him, why would I want to kill him? A simple reason indeed. Prosecutor Gavin, is it the case that Mr. Latouche had not been to our country before? According to our records, yes. Not even once. I see. Very well. Mr. Justice, you may begin the cross-examination. Great, now I need to find a motive. Come on, why would I even want to kill that manager? You want a reason? Easy. I got no motive, man. Objection! Your Honor, take a look at this. What's that? Looks like candy. It's not. Don't lick it, please. Detective Crescend, ever seen this? Looks like a piece of candy. What it is evidence. Don't lick it before you try it. Specifically, this is a replica of a cocoon. It was found among the victim's belongings. A cocoon? Never seen one that color. It is a variety only found in the Republic of Virginia. Nowhere else. Alright, but what is this cocoon replica doing in my courtroom? Surely this has nothing to do with a motive for killing Mr. Latouche, does it? It does. Wait, I mean, I think it does. You don't sound so confident, man. A cocoon. Is it one of those silky cocoons? The kind that you can make, well, silk out of? Not this one. This cocoon makes a powerful curative. A curative? For what? Apparently, it is most efficacious at treating a disease thought incurable. It is the only medicine of its kind. However, it is illegal to take one of these healing cocoons out of Virginia. Whatever for? If it's such a miracle cure, why not share it with the world? Yeah, that's what I've been wondering. We looked into the matter at some length. Apparently, it isn't difficult at all to manufacture the remedy from the cocoon. Yet, if you change the process only slightly, you can easily make a large quantity of something else entirely. A deadly poison, in fact. Well, what? There was an incident several years ago where some of these got onto the black market. It caused quite the commotion in the global community, though the media was kept largely unaware. Intriguing. All of this has led to a strict ban on the cocoon's export, one originally enforced by Interpol, among others. Interpol? Right! The victim, Romain Latouche, was an Interpol agent. Detective Crescend, you insist on referring to him as a manager, but that is misleading. Romain Latouche wasn't killed as a manager. He was killed as an undercover agent. So I was trying to smuggle this gumball into the country? That what you're trying to say? I'm saying that could well be a motive for murder. Oh, so I was going to sell it at the black market, make myself a pretty penny. Ridiculous. I mean, totally unthinkable. Unthinkable, you say? Why? Perhaps it's time for another testimony about this smuggling of cocoons business. International Affairs got a memo about those cocoons. Interpol's all hot and bothered about them. Can't sell them on the black market. Too dangerous. Yeah, cocoon smuggling ain't exactly lucrative anymore. Man, I'm in International Affairs. I know the deal. Indeed. Interpol wanted these cocoons bad enough to send Mr. Latouche undercover. You kids think of the craziest things. But no way am I going to risk life and limb just to get my hands on some dirty cocoon money. Not the most noble of statements, but duly noted. According to reports, these cocoons top Interpol's list. Selling them to an underground organization would be risky. Very well. You may begin a cross-examination. This is the only motive I've got. He was up to something, and I'm going to find out what. International Affairs got a memo about those cocoons. Interpol's all hot and bothered about them. Can't sell them on the black market. Too dangerous. Objection! Why not choose a less dangerous buyer then? I would. How clueless are you? Everyone in the market's dangerous. The second they found out I was a cop, I could kiss her goodbye. Why sell to a black market buyer? How about someone like this? That article. That's about the Chief Justice's... A deadly poison can be extracted from the cocoon, but so can a cure. And not a cure for just any disease. A cure for incuritis. Incuritis? I've heard of that somewhere. You went to visit a victim of the disease this morning. Aha. Why, that's the disease the Chief Justice's son has. You aren't saying... Our witness is a detective. He would have contact with the Chief Justice. You are saying the Chief Justice would never deal in contraband. Not even to save his own son's life? But even if the deal went through, why, it'd be an international scandal. That's Detective Crescend's insurance. If word ever got out, the one with his neck on the line would be the Chief Justice. Detective Crescend, is this true? First I'm a murderer, now I'm a smuggler. How many crimes are you trying to pin on me anyway? Distasteful as it is to think about, if the Chief Justice were the buyer, why, a seller couldn't hope for a better deal. A very cowardly seller. Don't let Sleeves over there trick you. So I made a deal with the Chief Justice. Where's your proof? Well... Oh yeah, and you're forgetting one other important thing. Do tell. Interpol isn't the only ones out there watching this. Virginian Customs barely sleeps, they're so worried about Cocoons getting out. So we were informed. Let's continue with the cross-examination. Virginian Customs is very thorough. Everything and everyone gets checked.
Objection!
Actually, there is one way. What? One way to get something out of the country. No checks. What is it? You become a prosecutor. A prosecutor? I don't believe it. Believe it, Prosecutor Gavin. What was it that you told me yesterday at your office? It was a beautiful instrument. It was played lovingly for many years. A guitar befitting a woman like Lamoureux. How did it end up here? I mentioned how much I enjoyed playing it that night, and she made a present of it. So this guitar is from Virginia. That it is. We couldn't carry it on the plane. Changes in air pressure and humidity ruined the wood. So we vacuum packed it in Lamoureux studio. I used a special shipping service available to me for transporting evidence. They brought it right up to my office for me. Pristine and untouched. Did I get that right, Prosecutor Gavin? Untouched? Quite. The guitar was wrapped in several sheets and vacuum packed in Virginia. The pack was untouched until the day of the concert. Are you saying that guitar was... With cocoons this small, it would have been very easy to use your guitar as a mule to smuggle a cocoon out of Virginia. Well, what? Which reminds me, Prosecutor Gavin, that guitar had some work done on it recently, right? Work? Good memory, Ed Forehead. Well, you know how guitars have a round hole in the front. It is called the sound hole. Well, they found something attached to the wood just inside the hole. A broken device of some sort. A broken device? Yes, this, in fact. An igniter? Exactly! Consider this if you will. What if that igniter wasn't the only thing that was attached inside your guitar? You mean... He means this, of course. There was a way to get a cocoon out of the country. They could use Icky Prosecutor Gavin's privileged guitar as the mule. And who better to do that than someone with access? Like a member of the band! Yo! Order! So the igniter was placed in there for a clear reason, it seems. It was a safety precaution! A precaution? Ed Forehead. At last it all comes together. Every strange thing that happened that day. Care to review? Maestro, the gentle sounds of Lamoureux's ballad, if you please. First, my keys were stolen. A harmless misdemeanor, which forced me to break the lock on my guitar case. The key was stolen to retrieve the cocoon from the guitar. I see. But things didn't go so well. The smuggler wasn't counting on the car being wrapped. Only a member of the band could get near that case. Unwrapping the guitar would raise too many suspicions. Then the concert began. Right about this time, a very large problem presented itself to the smuggler. What's that? Mr. Latouche. Mr. Latouche, an undercover agent, was onto something. He would have known about the guitar. He'd only have to check the shipping records. So, Mr. Latouche tried to examine the guitar himself. If the cocoon were confiscated then, the gig would be up. The only thing left for the smuggler to do was to get rid of the whole lot. It's over. Press the switch, now. The guitar burst into flames, and the cocoon was lost. And then, Mr. Latouche died, with Lamoureux there to witness it. There's your case. Brilliant, man. Detective Percent? I gotta know, you make all that up on the fly? For a made-up story, it makes a great deal of sense, Darien. The Republic of Virginia? Sorry, man, but I haven't even been there. True, you haven't. Ha! Let's see you make up a story for that, kid. How'd I hide the cocoon in the first place, huh? It's not so hard to imagine. You had help, a Virginian accomplice. That's all. That you had an accomplice was clear from the start. The voice Lammeror heard proves it. It's over. Press the switch, now. You made this transmission from backstage, while your co-conspirator was on stage. But who was it? This is it, the coup de grace. And for once, I know what I'm doing. There's only one person who could have helped him. Let's hear what Mr. Justice has to say then. But be warned. With a great accusation comes great responsibility. Make up your answer on the fly, as it were, and you'll be harshly penalized. Are you ready, Mr. Justice? Who was the smuggler's accomplice? There's only one person who meets all the requirements of the accomplice. And that person is the defendant, Makito Bai! But Mr. Justice, he's your client! The defense attorney accusing his client! That's a new one! I assure you, no one is more unhappy about this than I. But I am here to defend him in the murder of Mr. Latouche. And I stand by my statement earlier, that he is innocent of that particular crime. Indeed, the defendant is Virginian. He does meet the basic requirements to be the accomplice. But what if it was, in fact, Lammeror? It couldn't have been. Well, you seem sure of yourself. The reason is electronic signals, Your Honor. Electronic signals? Recall that this remote only works to a range of 30 feet. Beyond that, it's useless. Yes, that's true. Now, think back to the testimony. When the shooter made his transmission, Lammeror was in the air vent, right above the dressing room where the shooter stood. Let's look at the stage diagram. This is the area that the remote could reach from the air vent. Well, looking at this, it seems that Lammeror still could have done the deed. No. When the shooter made that transmission, the stage was slightly different than shown here. It was in the middle of the guitar Serenade. Part of the stage was raised. Prosecutor Gavin and the Lammeror stand-in were in the air. They were on a tower, which happens to be 15 feet tall. In other words, the remote couldn't have worked from Lammeror's position in the air vent. Ah! Well, Detective Crescend, what do you say to that? Your Honor. Yes, Detective? Could we see the video where Gavin's guitar burns? Just one more time. Well, I don't see why not. What? Don't tell me he has a way out of this. Pleasure under a fleeting melody. It wraps itself around me, and now through the air I fly. Too bad, so sad, punk. Punk? First you were sleeves, then kid, now punk. You're losing your rank fast, Apollo. What exactly were we supposed to see in this video? The problem isn't in what we see, correct, Darien? Right, it's what you hear. We are musicians after all. Care to explain for us non-musicians? Sure thing, punk. Let me get you yarn straight first. You're saying I ordered the Wii pianist to set off that igniter? That right? Yes. Well, in order to do that, he'd have to press a switch. Am I right? Okay. Well, take another listen. Pay attention to the piano. Piano? Pleasure, but a fleeting melody. It wraps itself around me, and now through the air I fly. What seems to be the problem there? The piano sounded just fine. And that's the problem. Man, you still don't get it? Ah! Yeah. How's he supposed to hit the switch if he's playing? You've got Ms. Diva, the guitar, the bass, the piano, and the drums. The only one with her hands free was the diva. Let me roar. But according to you, she couldn't have been the accomplice, could she? Ugh. Your accomplice would have had a hard time helping out if they couldn't even press a switch. Pleasure, but a fleeting melody. It wraps itself around me. Piano, please, non-stop. Through the air I fly. He couldn't have pressed that switch. Well, Mr. Justice, the piano does seem to be playing when a guitar catches fire. Well, it's okay. We all make mistakes sometimes. Apollo, were you wrong? I can't be wrong. Everything makes perfect sense. How could it all just... strange? What's strange? No, it's just... something's odd about the performance there. Odd? Mr. Justice, if Monkey Dubai didn't press that switch, then he could not be the accomplice you claim he is. But everything points to it. Every fact says he's the accomplice. You got the facts wrong, man. Here's some facts for you. Gavin's guitar is on fire, but the pianist didn't press that switch. In other words, your story's full of holes. Mr. Justice, let's hear your final opinion on this matter now. Was the defendant Maki Dubai the accomplice? Your answer will reflect on everything you've said here. Give it some thought. Apollo, if Maki's not the accomplice, then our whole case is ruined. I know that. It has to be him. He was the only one who could have helped the smuggler. He had to have pressed that switch. Well, you better find a way to prove it. What do I do? What do I do? There has to be something that doesn't fit. Something odd. Something odd. Wait a second. What? You thought of something? What was Gavin saying just now? Strange. What's strange? No, it's just... something's odd about the performance there. It's not much to go on, but it's all I've got. What exactly did he hear that was odd? Have you come up with something, Mr. Justice? May I remind you that everything rests on this. Can you prove Maki Dubai pressed that switch? Let's hear your final answer. Can you prove that Maki Dubai pressed that switch? I don't know if you call this proof per se, but I can prove it was possible. Then, as prosecutor, it falls to me to ask you to show us evidence supporting this. And forehead, you're sure about this? Accept it. There's no evidence, man. Let's see your evidence, Mr. Justice. On what do you base your claim that the defendant pressed that switch? The basis for my claim is music, Your Honor. Music? What about music? Let's listen to the piano part, around the time when the switch was to be pressed. Right before the guitar burst into flame. Pleasure, but a fleeting. It wraps itself around me. I hear a piano being played. But, doesn't it sound kind of simple? Simple? I think I know what he's suggesting. You think Maki could have played that part with one hand? One hand? He only needed one hand to press that switch. He could play the piano with the other. Heh. What, so you're some kind of piano savant? Actually, no. Then what do you know? You can't play a part like that with one hand. Ugh. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about here. Wait, I know. Hey, Trucy. Yeah, you got something? Mr. Wright, your father, he's a pianist. Could he... Oh, Daddy? He couldn't play a part like that even if he had 3 hands. So sorry. I'm so sad for you. No, not really. Huh? That was just the easy way to prove it. There's always the hard way. Man, how are you going to prove whether he played it with 1 hand or 2? You can't. I admit it will be rather difficult to prove, but it's highly likely he was playing with 1 hand. How do you know that? The clues our Prosecutor Gavin described as sounding odd. What sounded odd? I'll bet we can tell by listening to a certain part of the song. No way. Well, it seems you've come to the moment of truth at last. Let's hear what Mr. Justice has to say for himself. Show us the part that proves the defendant was playing with 1 hand. Right before the guitar burst into flame. Maki was definitely playing 1-handed just before the guitar caught fire, and one section of the song proves it. Prosecutor Gavin, I'm sure you've realized by now just what it was that sounded odd to you. As I'm sure you've realized it yourself, Airforehead. Realize what? I'll demonstrate. Let's listen to the part in question again, shall we? Pay particular attention to the "but a fleeting melody" phrase. Man. How many times do we have to listen to the same thing? You're right. Enough of that. Let's listen to another section, shall we? Another section? The guitar bursts into flame at the end of the 2nd verse. Let's listen to the same spot in the 1st verse. Pay attention to "Oh, that night in your embrace." Play verse 2 again? Did you hear it? They feel the same, true, but they're clearly very different. What? Well put, Your Honor. The phrase in verse 2 is quite simple, but the same phrase in verse 1 is high and low notes. You'd have to use 2 hands to play that for sure. What's that prove? I would think you know that by now. This is why I hate dealing with amateurs, man. So the 2 verses at different arrangements happens all the time. Not this time, Darian. There's no point in changing an arrangement if you can't hear it clearly. And that wasn't the point. I had him play specifically so that the piano would stay in the background. Oh! That was what I noticed. Why should the same phrase sound slightly different, I asked myself. Now ask yourselves why Maki changed how he played, and there's only one answer. He needed a free hand in order to press the switch. Order! I believe this ties all the facts together. Well, Prosecutor Gavin? Yes, quite. Though, personally, this comes as a terrible disappointment. What, no comeback? I can't believe it. I finally did it. I shut him up! Very well. Barring an objection from the prosecution, I will now state the court's opinion on this matter. Good show, Sleeves. Oh, great show. It's not over. I don't like it when he looks so happy. You tell him, Gavin. Tell him what's so disappointing. Personally, I'm terribly disappointed. In you, Air Forehead. Huh? Me? Yes, don't get me wrong, your case is solid. The facts I'll check out, but even now, you have yet to show us a single piece of decisive evidence. Yeah, but the facts, anyone can see it was him! Unfortunately, anyone does not include the law. I'm afraid your case doesn't cut it. But... 1,000 facts might point toward the same conclusion, but without decisive evidence, it's not proof. That's the rule under our current legal system. I don't believe it! It does not seem as though the defense has any more evidence to present. Oh, I think if it did, we already would have seen it a long ways back. It is unfortunate, but at present, this court is unable to acknowledge your accusation. What? What? The truth is staring us all right in the face. Why can't they see it? What's the point of a legal system that protects criminals? Apollo, remember what Daddy said. It won't be easy proving he did it. Especially not under the current court system. So what do I do? Like I said, good luck. And be aware that it will be impossible to prove his guilt by conventional methods. Ugh! Every man has an igniter inside him. Find your Inkersen's igniter and set it off. I wonder what he meant by every man's igniter. I think he just meant a weak spot, no? The kind of thing that a single spark could turn into a wildfire of emotion. I won't be able to press him further by conventional means. I've got to find a weak spot in this guy. Something fatal. So, can I get back to work now, or what? It may look like I got a lot of time on my hands, but I got no more time to play pretend with this deadweight attorney. Well, Mr. Justice, we've come this far without decisive evidence. This witness won't be coming back to the stand once we let him go. Every man has an igniter. Huh? Didn't you say the better the guitar, the brighter it burns, Prosecutor Gavin? Yes, good guitars are kept dry is why. That provides the best sound. Even a small spark could cause irreparable damage. Your plan has an igniter in it too, Detective. It was there from the very beginning. What? Fighting time, Justice. If you blow this one, he'll be out of your hands for good. Go for it, Apollo. What, and this igniter's supposed to come burn me up? That's almost poetic there, Mr. Attorney. All the better. I'm rather fond of poetry, and I intend to hear this one through to the very end. Air Forehead. You are accusing this man, Derek Hussein, of two crimes. The murder of Mr. Latus and the smuggling of a Borginian cocoon. This is your last chance to prove your case. This trial has already run on for far too long. Mr. Justice, this will be my last warning. The moment this igniter of yours turns out to be a dud is the moment this cross-examination ends. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. Then let's have it. Show us the basis for these accusations against Darian Crescent. Okay, this is really my last chance. The key that will take apart Darian Crescent's plan is... your igniter isn't a piece of evidence. Huh? So what is... It is true that I couldn't show decisive evidence, but perhaps what I needed to prove my case was something else. You mean a witness? Proving his guilt is a tall order, but I've got just the person to do it. Very well, Mr. Justice. Who is this person who can prove Darian Crescent's guilt? The one person who can prove Darian Crescent's guilt is the defendant, Makito Bai! Your client? Again? Makito Bai was an accomplice to the cocoon smuggling plot. Without him, Darien-Crescent could not have gotten the cocoon. Furthermore, he can easily prove that the one who plotted to smuggle that cocoon is the real criminal in this case. How so? It would require just one of the very cocoons which Latus was looking for. With the cooperation of the Republic of Virginia, we could burn a cocoon. The burnt cocoon would leave a particular residue. A residue we would no doubt also find inside the burnt-out guitar. Aha, very scientific of you. Thus, if Makito Bai acknowledges his agreement with Darien-Crescent concerning the attempted smuggling of Virginia cocoon, the case is solved! Darien's laughing again? Your unrelenting passion is remarkable. You really want to get me, don't you? Too bad you'll never be able to. Why not? The little key tickler won't acknowledge anything. Especially not anything to do with cocoon smuggling. What's this all about? Taking a cocoon out of the country means death. By Brazilian law. Ah. Yeah, see? If our pianist really was a smuggler, then testifying about it would be suicide. Believe me, he's not talking. But you're wrong, Detective Crescend. What? It's the other way around. If Maki doesn't admit to smuggling here, he's in deep trouble. Huh? How? Look, if Maki admits to smuggling here, then he'll be tried in our courts by our laws. You don't get the death penalty for smuggling in our country. Ah. The victim in this case was an undercover Interpol agent. I'm sure that news has already reached Virginia, and they'll likely broadcast our dealings in court today, including the part about the Brazilian cocoon. Yeah, but if Maki doesn't admit to smuggling now, he'll eventually be picked up by the Virginian police. And it's not like he's in any danger in our court. We're not going to find him guilty of murder here, not now. Yeah, but you can't do this. You can't accuse me. Maybe the law doesn't allow it. But who's going to think you're really innocent after hearing this trial? The same goes for Makito Bai. Urgh! The cocoon smuggling, your entire plan. Makito Bai knows everything. There's only one way out of it for him, and that's to acknowledge his own crime. The crime of cocoon smuggling. Don't worry there. I'll get you out of the country. I'll set you up someplace. A hidden mansion. Real nice. You want a house made out of cool cookies or no? A house made out of pianos. Come on. Please. Don't talk! Darien, I consider that my last session with you. We rocked. I'm guessing we can treat that outburst as a confession? Uh-oh, he's laughing again. There's a kind of sick desperation in it now, though. Well, have you been listening to today's trial? Yes. And you'll talk. You tell this court everything. I didn't want it to turn out this way, but I'm not the kind of lawyer that can overlook a crime. Today's trial was all for your benefit, you know? I see no reason why you should hesitate now. I knew from beginning, Maki. Situation I cannot explain, but money I needed. Very much money. Today's trial raises a delicate issue with our legal system. The only thing definite in the court of law is evidence. This is the golden rule, however. It has become apparent that not all things can be tried by this standard. Should another case of this sort surface, we may have to consider an alternate system by which to administer justice. Anyway, Mr. Makito Bai? Yes. I promise you will receive a fair trial by the laws of our country. And with regards to the current charges for the murder of Mr. Latouche, this court is prepared to announce a verdict. I thank you. I only lie, but you see truth. You find truth. That's our job. Very well. This court finds the defendant, Maki Dobai, not guilty. Court is adjourned. I wonder what'll happen to Maki. Well, he did smuggle a cocoon out of Virginia. I guess there'll be another trial here. All's well that ends well. Daddy! I owe you both my thanks. Let me roar. My, is something wrong? I'm sorry, Maki was your partner on stage, your friend. Yes, I thought of him as my own son. Even now I do, yet something got a hold of him, something evil, I see that. And he must pay for what he has done. Is that not how it should be? I'm still sorry. Do not be sorry. You have given me courage. Courage? I am considering an eye operation. It was my suggestion, actually. You mean you'll be able to see again? It's funny, I have always been afraid of the light. Light seems so harsh, so unforgiving. According to the doctor, Lammermoor lost her sight due to some kind of accident. An accident? As you know, I suffer from amnesia. I feared that if I could see, perhaps it would open my eyes to the truth that I've been running from. I was scared. You know what changed her mind? Hearing your defense in there today. She could feel your gaze, unwavering, always looking straight at the truth. If the light returns to my eyes, I think I will take up painting. Painting? That's right, she's the landscape painter in sound after all. I will paint the two of you, I promise. Woohoo! I can't wait, Lammermoor. I owe you my thanks too, Apollo. Thanks, Mr. Wright, but for what? You reminded me I need to hurry things along. On my secret mission, that is. Right, your secret mission. Apollo, Trucy. I hope that we will meet again someday soon. You bet, me too. And so, like a ballad, the trial flowed on until it came to the end. Thanks to the trial, the guitar Serenade was a huge hit. Prosecutor Gavin's even more dazzling to look at now. But there's something I want to say to that guy. Next time you write a ballad, have them catch the killer at the end.